Hello there, members of the Gutsy Women Club. It's Dr. Brenda, and we are here with another Gutsy Woman profile. I'm coming at you today, trying something new. I'm in my catio slash patio in Central Texas, so hope you're doing good today. We have a special guest, Janine McJannet, who calls herself a soul empowerment coach and is the founder of the Souled Out Sisters Lounge. Welcome, Janine. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you, Dr. Brenda. It's lovely to be here. And I have sore cheeks just from smiling, looking at you sitting in your catio and just living the life of a gutsy woman.
Well, tell us about more of what you do. I know that you have so many different facets of your life going on. So tell us a little bit about who you are.
Who I am. I am the essence of my soul. Just thought I'd put it out there. Doing all these affirmations and I ams. I really started with I am a mother, I'm a wife, I am, I was a corporate, I was cooped up in that corporate cage of complacency for almost 3 decades. So I was a bureaucrat, very much so. Who I am right now is completely different to who I was 3 years ago. Absolutely. And to where I am now from where I've been has allowed me to really focus in on what's important, not only to me, but to how I show up in the world, how I speak up in the world and in my life and my family. So I retired from my big old corporate job there last summer. I quit really because I'm working now more than I did then, but the work is so much more meaningful. Soul empowerment expert, soul empowerment coach. I host my own live talk show called Souled Out Speaking, SOS, and that's an SOUL for sold. Turning that into a podcast soon. And as you mentioned, the Souled Out Lounge, which is my Facebook group where I invite women in who really want to start to show up differently for themselves and want to empower each other, inspire each other, motivate each other, and really just connect with each other. Let's see, that's about it for me in terms of online. I love connecting. I love poetry and singing, and I live up in Yukon, right up near Alaska. And it just started to snow out this morning, so I got goosies right away. I ran outside going, snow, it's so nice. It's always just like exciting. And of course, my husband, married with 2 children, I am. My husband says, oh, it'll be gone soon. I'm like, but it's here now. So that's the presence versus the kind of future. We all have relationships that are like that.
Yeah. So I want you to back up a little bit because so I grew up in the Midwest, and you know there was nothing called a life coach. There certainly weren't financial coaches, which is what I do, and a soul empowerment coach. I think there's some residue when somebody says soul. We automatically think of some formal religious thing. But I'd like you to tell me more about how you define soul. What does a soul empowerment coach do?
And I love that question because it took me a while to actually figure out what I was interested in doing and what that actually meant. So soul initially, if you take me back 10, 20 years ago, I would have thought spiritual. I'm running the other way. I don't want to have anything to do with that word because I don't understand it, but I didn't even recognize that I didn't understand what soul was. And I think soul is different for everybody. They have their own definition of it. For me, as a soul empowerment coach and a soul empowerment expert, I really love to do the work with women and because I've done it with myself, of really understanding what we want, what we really want in this life. So soul is what's inside of you, and it's a mixture of your mind, your heart, and your body. And what's really authentic and what's genuine and real, like what is your truth. So when I talk about soul empowerment, it's like I love to empower myself, and I mean I don't empower other people. Other people and women empower themselves, but it's listening to ourselves, listening to our truth, listening to our intuition, And that's what I call soul. And it's speaking from the soul, speaking from your heart, speaking from that which is really important. Now, the difference between soul to me and spirituality is where religion might come into it. I don't think soul, and people out there can have a different opinion, of course, but soul to me isn't religious based. Spirituality is, and you can be different spirituality. You can be Christian, you can be Jewish, you could be whatever religion you want. But for me, my religion, really, when it comes down to it, is nature. And for me, that spirituality is really soulful. So when I go out in nature, I get a big bang because it not only fills my soul up, and I see so much, I see the big picture, but I feel that the big picture sort of fills me up as well. So it's a beautiful kind of soul-filling experience when I go out. And I'm looking out of my window. I live in nature. I live in a cabin on the lake, and I also have a place in the forest. So I get the trees and the waters and the mountains, and it fills my soul. Can I ask you a question?
You can.
What does soul mean to you? Because it's such a great question. It means something different to
I
so many.
I think my journey is similar to yours. I mean, I've rejected formal religion. I mean, I just see most formal religion divides us into us versus them. We're better than you, and we deserve this, and you don't. Um, and so I've sort of rejected that traditional life as well. As I've been on the road, I mean, I talk about um, sort of spirituality, but it has nothing to do with religion. I
Mm-hmm.
feel that I am more spiritual than many people who follow sort of a formal religious, because I'm more open to experiences without judging, I hope. That's not always true, but for me, it's all about nature. I look at, I'm on the road and I'm out here because this is where I feel alive.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it's something that is evolving. I never gave it much thought, but the longer I'm out here, I mean, I thought I was on a search for. I also, lost my career, started a new path, trying to be a financial coach, and from the money, I've started to focus more on dreams. What are our dreams? And it's like, fulfilling ourselves and being open to taking these steps that are kind of scary. So, like, I would love to hear from you. I mean, what do you see with the women that you help, sort of the barriers that we put these things in front of us, um, that keep us from being authentic and keep us from showing up and keeping us from empowering our soul. So, what do you see as the barriers?
Well, my experience, my childhood. So I have to look at myself as an example into how I can help other people. And I think a lot of coaches do that. They figure out, how did I help myself so I can help other people so that they don't go through the same pain as I've gone through. So I'm what can be called an adult child, which is somebody who grew up in a dysfunctional family system. Now it's a whole fellowship. It's like the AA or the Al-Anon. This is called ACA, Adult Children of Alcoholics. And so my experience, I found myself, I'm just going to backtrack and tell you a little story and then weave that into it. Grew up in a family of dysfunction. Both of my parents were alcoholics. Both lovely people, and they both loved each other, but there was no way that they could get along. So there was a lot of turmoil and a lot of chaos in the household until they eventually split up, and I went down to Australia with my mom and my sisters, and my dad and my brothers moved up to near Alaska in the Yukon. And it was one time I decided after school to travel the world, and I went to like 26 countries in 6 months with a backpack on. So I get that feeling. It's so much fun. And I came back here to Whitehorse to visit my dad. And it's cold, and there's not many people up here. And I lived in Sydney, and I'm going, Sydney's like happening, man. Whitehorse, nobody knows where Whitehorse is. And not that it really mattered, but I was here. And the very day before I was going to leave Whitehorse, jump on a ferry, go down back to Australia, I found my father dead. passed away from overconsumption of alcohol and stroke and heart attack. Everything just came up. So that shook my world. And being 24 as I was, I thought, that's okay, that's normal, right? So I just stuffed everything right on down. I got a job with the government, thought I got to make some money, got to pay off some bills. I had my little party hat on and everything's fine. But it really took me down a tunnel, down a hole that I didn't even realize that I was going down. And that was filled with resentment and guilt and blame and shame and really dark days, depression and anxiety. But I masked it all up and, thought that life was pretty good until I woke up in my 50s and went, where have I been? What's been going on? And pulled myself out of there and did a lot of work. And so I can't even remember. What was the question again?
It's about the barriers that we put, the women put in front of us that make it so hard to sort of be authentic and find your soul.
Right. So that's the barriers that I had found inside of me were barriers that I was conditioned when I grew up to believe. My belief system was not really my own belief system. I had adopted this belief system that primarily if I helped other people, if I pleased other people, that I would get some sort of love in return. So approval seeker. If I give, then I get loved. And that was more in terms of the people pleaser that so many of us have heard about. So I had this huge people pleaser hat on, and it doesn't mean that I was happy. It just meant that my attention and my energy was around making sure that other people were content. And by doing that, I sacrificed my own needs and didn't have it. So that was a huge barrier that I'm a recovering people pleaser now because I've spent so much time in that mode. I didn't know how to set boundaries because I thought, oh, if I upset somebody, then they're not going to like me. I won't be accepted. So this whole fear, and I work a lot around fears. That's where we start at. What are you really afraid of? It's a really good question to ask yourself. And when I first got asked that, I'm not afraid of anything until I took a pen and a piece of paper and I brainstormed my fears, and I had a whole page filled. And when I started to do the analysis of what it all meant, what all these fears meant, I came up with my biggest fear, which was the fear of abandonment. And that kind of made me feel that all these pieces in my life, why I didn't take action, why I stayed stuffed down, why I had these masks on, was because I didn't want to get abandoned, because that's what I felt happened to me with my parents and the fighting and finding my father and whatnot. Rejection and abandonment, and what a huge role they played as a barrier to me not doing what I wanted to me not even realizing that I had a choice to do what I wanted to, just living the life. And I used to say, I was dealt these cards, that's all I got. And not even jumping out and taking risks. So it was really the biggest barrier, I guess, to wrap it up. And I am a little bit of a talker. The barrier is not believing in yourself and that you are good enough and that you are enough, period. I think that would be it.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I do think that, it's a powerful story. And I'm always intensely curious how someone transitions from, working in a corporate world for 28 years, and then all of a sudden it's like, nope, I've got to do something else. Is that like a sudden, like one day you wake up and I'm just going
Yeah.
to do this, or tell me about that transition?
So it definitely was not all of a sudden. It took a while. There were little bits and pieces that started to come into my mind. I call it intuition, as we do, that sort of said, this isn't right for you. You're not making a difference. What else can you do? Little bits like this. And I go, I can't. I've got a secure job. got a safe job. I've got, all benefits coming in. This is fine. I've got 2 beautiful kids. And it kept coming up and kept coming up. And so I took a little leap, which, it was really a big leap for me. And I started to educate myself on something that I love to do. I wanted to learn more about, and that was nutrition, because here I was sitting down drinking wine and eating cheese and just gaining weight, and I'm like, what is going on with my physical body? So I jumped into that and learned a lot about nutrition, and it was hard for me as a people pleaser to actually take time out of my life. It was a year-long course, and put aside, a few hours a week to learn something that benefited myself and my family. So I did that, and from nutrition, there was a coaching component to it. I didn't want to coach; I just wanted to get better and feel good about myself. Was I wrong? Because that's when I got introduced to all of the different kind of work, of the spiritual work, and the differences, the different opportunities that we can have in careers and whatnot. So that's where I started, Dr. Brenda. It's just like a nutrition coach. I can teach people this. This is good. I know this now. And then it became so amazingly clear to me through my own work that it's much, much more than what you put into your mouth. It's what you surround yourself with, and that's the soulful bit of it. So yeah, that transition took some planning, and even the day of my hitting that button on the computer to say I quit, I had such a hard time doing, because I'm like, what if? And all these fears came up. What if it doesn't work out? What if my husband leaves me? What if, I have to go back there someday? And so in all my wisdom, I got my 11-year-old daughter to push the button for me. And I just was like, woohoo! And it was just automatically the sense of freedom that I have a choice right now. And I have a choice to go down this path or this path. And I can stay in that little comfort zone and be all semi-comfortable, which really I wasn't, because my intuition kept busting out and saying, you've got to do something different. There's more and more. And to doing the coaching. So bit by bit, I put myself out there, and I started to really evaluate what my beliefs really were and throw away those ones that weren't doing me any good whatsoever, including the belief that I'm not worth it.
So I'm really curious about something. Do you think like something happens to women in their 50s? Because, I've kind of been in that same place where it's like all of a sudden it's like I only have so much time left, and my health is okay now, and if I don't do this, maybe I don't get another chance, and I don't need to choose to hang around negative people.
Mm.
So for me, something happened as I got older that I was okay with doing what I wanted to do. Do you
Mhm.
see some of that aging effect?
Absolutely. I see it, excuse me, a lot in older or mature women, in their late 40s and 50s, because that's where I was when it started to tick away. But I'm seeing it now a lot more in younger women as well, in their 20s and 30s, who also come from the background of wanting to serve other people in a people-pleasing mode rather than a genuine mode. Um, and you're so right. We never know when our last breath is going to be. And typically, as women are turning 50, they're losing their children, they're empty nesters, and they're like, oh, I've got this kind of time. What can I do with it? How can I make a difference? Um, so, yeah, I believe that it is something that we go through. And I'm pushing women that I work with to go through earlier than it took me in my 50s. Because it is a life, it is our life. And I know everybody says that we are where we are and we're meant to be here, and all the lessons that we've learned, were there for us so that we could be where we are today. But there's a way that we can expedite that if we just start to focus in on what's important to us and how we can set the goals to go there with our vision work and even our vision boarding work, those kind of things that I know you're familiar with. So yeah, it's a time of our life, And you just have to look at yourself damn smack in the mirror and say, am I doing what I want to do? Because if you're not, then make some choices, connect with people, create your life. We're the author of our own life. And that's what I didn't realize. I thought that life was given to us, but we have so many incredible choices that we can make to do what we want and to be with the people that we want to be. And it's good that you mentioned the negative people, because a friend cleanse is right up at the top of my list every year, just looking around and saying, who am I with that's sucking the energy out? Who's the vacuum cleaner friends, and do I need them, right?
I love that term, friend cleanse. That's perfect. Um,
Yeah.
so one of the things that I've discovered is that when I talk about dreams, um, and some people are like, well, I don't know. I don't know what I want to do. I don't know who I am. I don't know what I like. I don't know what I want. And
Mhm.
I don't know if you experience that same sort of thing where we get so wrapped up in being the person that everybody else expects us to be, or our mindset is like, I can't do that. This is going to happen. This is going to be bad. How do you help women reach that point where they can actually envision their dreams and get to a point where they have a better understanding of what it is they want, what will make them happy?
Mhm. Beautiful. I call it the soul excavation work, where you have to dig into your soul and really figure out what's in there. So rather than start at the where you want to go, it's like, let's create an environment inside of you where you feel safe and comfortable to move in whatever direction you want to. So it's taking out those pieces that are causing you to stay put in your mind, and a lot of that actually um, actually comes around people pleasing. So busting those habits and changing your habits. And I talk a lot about the patterns of our mind, and being curious about what's going on up here to stop us from doing and being who we want to be. So I think one of the first things I do with people, with women, is just get them to really pay attention to what their patterns are. And once they're aware of their patterns, because not all of us know what we're doing. Like, automatically we do these things. Once they're aware of the patterns, then are there any patterns in your life that you want to change? Because you have to it's got to be important to make a change if you're going to make a change. So rather than going from the I don't know what I want to do to this is my shining light and this is what I now know I want to do, you have to do that work at the cellular level and really pull things out and understand what's in your way of actually creating that space, so that you can choose what you want to do on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, and then ultimately, move towards your vision. If your vision is to be free from the corporate job and to be gutsy enough to either break up with a job or break up with a partner, then it's not easy. It's not quick. You have to do that work inside to make sure that you know what you're doing and it aligns with your values. So understanding what your values are and your strengths and what your passions are, really, there's so many different components to understanding what your dream is, and just putting them all together and and asking yourself again, what do I want? What do I really want to do with my life?
Yeah, my approach is very simple. Dream, plan, save, do.
Mhm.
And I think the first three are pretty logical and basic, and you can have you can have things in place, resources. The last part, the doing, where people don't pull the plug. So, maybe they've done their research and maybe they've geared up, but they've been talking about it for 5 years or 10 years, and they just can't seem to write that I quit letter or whatever it is. What advice do you have, like, to help women move into that action step where they actually do it.
Yeah. Well, taking the action is the ultimate. Otherwise, everything is just in your head. And how that can weigh on your worriness, and how you can waste a lot of time and energy thinking about what if. Action is really the ultimate in making any change. And you can change right now. You just have to take the action. And taking the action means you're setting up a date, declaring it, and starting to move on it one thing at a time. It's not like if you want to, if we're taking quitting a corporate job, for example, then get the letter set up and find a date. Not next January. And I know this because I was, okay, I'm gonna do it next February. Oh, not February, because then it's springtime and I'll just, yeah. Okay, I'm going to do it in June. Oh, really? Maybe, when in June? When in June? What date in June? So pick a date of when you want to make that change, and then reverse engineer from there on what you have to do. If it's really what you want to do, then picking a date is going to give you a sense of freedom that is so incredible, because you're like, I can do it. I just got goosebumps telling you that because I'm remembering the date. I picked that date, and it's so difficult because we are uncertain, and we are all so afraid of uncertainty and not knowing what's going to happen. But that is what I say, is it's like your comfort zone. If you don't take a risk, you're never going to grow. And what is a risk to you? Take a risk every single day and make sure that it aligns with what you want to do. So learn something, or talk to somebody, or declare something, make a date, and just do it. It sounds easier, and people I just can't do it. But there's little steps, right? Connect with somebody who will push your butt into making a change is one of the
Yeah.
first things.
Yeah, I really would like your perspective on something I've been thinking about for quite a while. So we're filming this. It's October. You know, COVID numbers are going up. We've been dealing with COVID for the better part of the year. And to me, what once was risk-free, the corporate job, is no longer risk-free. I mean, we've seen unemployment go up. We've seen people lose their health insurance. People who had secure jobs, it's gone. And so I feel like in many ways there's a shift, and maybe the things that we thought were high risk, like to start your own business or to become a coach or to sell masks on Etsy, are not that much of a risk. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm curious if you feel like there's a shift in people because we've been, all of the things that we thought were secure are no longer true.
Mm. That's a really good point, because the security has shifted, right? The whole security blanket of a full-time job has shifted. And what we're doing right now, you and I, is we're just looking into that little green dot on the computer, and there's a whole world out there. And of course there's risk, which is why it's so important to know what you want. I think a lot of mistakes are made by people, by women, by men, starting a business and not really understanding what they want and just sort of jumping into it without having their heart or their soul into it, which is why that groundwork of understanding what it is you really want is important, and choosing the right people to connect with and to network with, and to have people coach you into business coaches or business strategists. I've had a few of those, and they're incredible when you get the right one who can lead you and guide you. So I'm downstream from that in terms of setting up yourself for knowing that you can make change, for giving yourself confidence that you can make whatever change you want to. And then for jumping that leap and moving into a business online. There's so many people, there's so many resources out there that can help you to do that. It's Rohn that says that you are the average of the 5 people that you hang around with. And again, this kind of goes back to the friend cleansing. Get yourself involved in a community of like-minded, like-hearted, like-souled people who you can open up to without feeling that you're impositioning everybody. So our friends, our close friends and our family are not necessarily the ones that we need approval for or from to make any move. It's got to be a decision made in your head. You've got to balance that decision. You've got to come up with a definite, yes, this is what I want. And then you get going and move with people who are moving with you, not who are trying to pull you back.
Yeah, I agree. It's very important. So, Janine, I'm really interested in how you think of your dream life in 5 or 10 years. I mean, where are you going in the future? Tell me about, the Janine in 5 years or 10 years. What do you see for yourself?
Well, the first thing I see is scuba diving with whale sharks on the west coast of Australia, because
Oh,
that's been
wow.
the one thing that I haven't sort of hit off on my own vision board. But in terms there's two parts to that question. There's my family and there's my business. And I'm merging them kind of as much as I can, but I like to keep them a little separate as well. So my family, I've got an 11 and a 14-year-old, and I see myself in the next 5 or 10 years being there and supporting them and helping them to grow and helping them to make, giving them the tools or at least the opportunities to make their decisions by themselves and grow that independency, right? Um, that's one thing. In business, I've just started working, and you're a colleague of mine with Marilyn Crump, the expert dream catcher, who's awoken in me some incredible opportunities that I didn't even see existed. So I've started a soul revival boot camp, which is going to be an ongoing 5-week program to help people do that initial soul excavation of their fears. And now I've started up Soul-lective Collective, which is like a mini mastermind group for women who are making and ready and wanting to connect with others like them as support to grow and to be who they want. And that's just started. So that's pretty exciting. And it's going to be this rolling thing. Next year, my big vision is to have a retreat up in the Yukon where women can come together. And as I did when I quit my corporate job, I jumped out of an airplane in the Carcross Desert here barefoot. Scared the living poop out of me, but I did it. I did it twice because I wanted really to feel that fear. I wanted to breathe through that fear. Got goosies against just thinking about it and just screaming all the way down the first jump, and then the second time looking around going, wow, this is really cool. And knowing that we have that control over our own destiny. So that's in the next year, 2, 5 years, is just to keep going, keep serving, help change, help women, help myself, help my family to reframe that pain that they're in, that they may not even recognize that they're in from the past. It's just like letting go of the past and coming home.
That sounds very exciting. We could probably talk all afternoon. Would you like to close out with a poem or a song or
I
something
could
that
do that.
something you've got there for us?
Okay, I could. I'd love to. Reframing the pain. Actually, I've got one that talks about that. I love to write, and this was one of the passions that I found over the last couple of years. Coaching, I thought, yeah, I like working with other people, and I like sharing experiences and tools and strategies and whatnot. But I've discovered that I really love to write poetry. So this is my go at it, and I'm also just in the midst of writing my first ebook and in poetry, so that's exciting for adult children. Reframe your pain. Reframe your pain and get rid of the shame. And turn around the blame and make your claim why you're on this planet. My name is Janine McJannet, and I help make change to rearrange the patterns and games that keep you stuck in the dark muck so that you can chuck what you don't need. You can be freed from all that greed to need control, to find your goal and to make you whole. to revive your soul and just be you, just be true, to find the clue, to shed that glue that keeps you bound so you can stand on the ground and speak your truth. Acknowledge your youth, so when you cast into the past, you'll catch the lessons that form your essence to shine in your presence, to be you, to be true to anew, and bring through your new story, your new glory, and your fierce love to rise above.
Thanks, Janine. Now, if people want to reach you, what's the best way?
Janine McJannet, I'm on Facebook, and I've got JanineMcJannet.com, which is my website. My group, if you're interested in coming into it, it's Sold Out Sisters Lounge, and it's growing. It's a great place to come in and see what about. This is where I put in my own interview series, which I'm going to be talking with you, Dr. Brenda.
Yes.
And it's empowerment as much as I can, and that's where you'll also get access to those shows and to the boot camp and the collective. And yeah, that's it. That's it for me, girl.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So, folks, that was Janine McJannet, and join us every Wednesday for a Gutsy Woman Profile. And that's it from the Catio in Texas. Thank you so much, Janine, for being here.
Thank you for being so gutsy and doing this, Dr. Brenda.
My pleasure.
Thank you.